Right now on Morning News Now, a ceasefire in the Middle East now closer than ever. Breaking overnight, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirming a final deal with Hamas. Now the Israeli cabinet meeting to vote on the deal after a one-day delay that put a pause on celebrations.
This is a moment of tremendous relief for Israelis and Palestinians alike. It's also a moment of historic possibility for the region and well beyond.
Well, in Gaza, the fighting continues with more than 100 people killed in Israeli strikes since the deal was first announced. We're going to bring you the latest from the Middle East. Also this morning, a split screen of weather extremes. Crews in California closing in on those deadly wildfires, while much of the rest of the country braces for record lows. We're tracking the conditions, the dangers, and what to expect where you live. Plus, at risk. New research shows cancer rates among women on the rise. More from that report and what doctors want you to know. Morning, good to have you with us on a Friday. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah will join us in just a few minutes. We begin our show with a potential breakthrough in the Middle East. Right now, Israel's security cabinet is convening to vote on a ceasefire hostage deal that would pause the war in Gaza and see the phased release of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners. Israeli media reports 33 hostages will be released in the first phase of the deal, which is expected to begin as soon as Sunday. Now, despite the agreement, Israeli attacks on Gaza have killed more than 100 Palestinians since the deal was announced on Wednesday. That's according to Gaza's Civil Defense Agency. The decimated strip is expected to receive a surge in humanitarian aid under the terms of this deal. Meanwhile, in Washington, there was a protest at Secretary of State Antony Blinken's final press conference before leaving office. Blinken was berated by two journalists who criticized U.S. support for Israel before they were forcibly removed. Amid the emotion, Blinken said that he was hopeful the deal would lead to a permanent ceasefire.
Over 15 months of devastating conflict between Israel and Hamas, we've worked to broker a deal that would bring hostages home, that would stop the fighting, that would surge humanitarian aid to people who so desperately need it, that would create the space to conclude a permanent ceasefire. We now have that, and we expect implementation of the agreement to begin on Sunday.
NBC News correspondent Danielle Hamamdjian joins us now from Tel Aviv. So, Danielle, looks like Israel's security cabinet voting in this meeting right now. Walk us through how we finally got here. Is this deal expected to go through?
A short answer is yes, Joe. It is expected to go through, and it's now a question of formalities before things get moving on the ground. The Security Cabinet has been meeting for well over an hour and a half now, and the vote is expected at some point today. Of course, this meeting was delayed by 24 hours. To take you back just yesterday, Israel had come out saying that Hamas was making last-minute demands. Hamas was saying no, that they were committed to the agreement. But critics of Benjamin Netanyahu were saying that this was classic Netanyahu frantically trying to keep his fragile coalition together because far-right ministers in his government were threatening to quit if this deal goes ahead. Even if they do not support this deal, Joe, it is expected to pass. And in fact, the Prime Minister's office just a few moments ago putting out a statement saying that they expect the hostages to be released as on Sunday, probably around midday is what we're hearing from Israeli media. Things are quite fluid. I hesitate to give you timings in terms of the next step, but the government is then expected to vote possibly later today. We're hearing it could happen tomorrow, but things, as I say, are changing by the hour. Once that is done, there'll be a few hours dedicated to allowing people to protest legally their opposition to the release of Palestinian prisoners, but that should not expect the ceasefire from being implemented on Sunday, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, tell us more once we get to that point, what this is going to mean for both the hostages and the people of Gaza if and when this truce does begin on Sunday.
Well, a ceasefire means what it means. There will not be Israeli drones, Israeli fighter jets flying above Gaza. And if the last deal back in November 2023 is anything to go by, the hostages will be handed over to members of the Red Cross, who will then hand them over to the IDF and who will then bring them back to Israel. In exchange for those hostages, of course, we know that Palestinian prisoners will be released. 30 Palestinian prisoners for every hostage. If it's a female soldier being released, you're looking at 50 Palestinian prisoners. Thousands, Joe, thousands have been arrested since October 7th in the West Bank. Many of them have been arrested without being tried or charged.
And Danielle, Israel's far-right national security and finance ministers, they've threatened to quit the government if this deal is agreed upon. I mean, what would that mean for Netanyahu's somewhat fragile coalition? Could their resignations bring down his government or derail the deal?
No, the deal will go ahead with or without Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich. The support, that's a separate thing. His coalition government, however, that's another issue. Ben-Gvir, who is the national security minister, who, by the way, earlier this week admitted to having blocked previous hostage deals because he believes that a deal means surrendering to Hamas. He has said that he will quit if this goes ahead. That would leave Benjamin Netanyahu with 62 seats. That is a very slim majority. If the finance minister then also quits, then you're looking possibly at snap elections. It's unclear what the timing or the timetable would be. But those ministers have also indicated if stage one goes ahead and then the IDF goes back in to fight, then they might choose to join the coalition once again. Who knows? This is all very unpredictable. But keep your eyes on the West Bank, because the prime minister might try to give something to the finance minister in exchange for his support.
All right. Danielle, thank you so much. Firefighters in Southern California are gaining ground in their battle against those catastrophic wildfires. The fires have claimed at least 27 lives and destroyed more than 12,000 structures, many of them homes. Right now, more than 80,000 people remain under evacuation orders. As for the cause of the fire, that remains under investigation. From fighting fires to frost and freeze, a blast of Arctic air will bring a polar plunge to a large stretch of the country this weekend. Some cities will see their coldest weather of the season on Monday. We are talking about highs that are 20 to 40 degrees below average across most of the nation. Let's get some specific numbers, many of them with a negative sign in front of them. Time for your Morning News Now weather with Angie Lastman and the forecast. Angie, good morning.
Hey there, Joe. Good morning. Don't take it on me. This cold air that's going to spill in, it sure is going to make you change maybe some plans as we get into this weekend and next week. One bit of good news out west. We are seeing those winds down for folks across Southern California. So all of those red flag warnings have since expired. Great for the firefighters working on getting all of that situation taken care of. Here's what we've got as far as those chilly temperatures, though. 30s across parts of the northern plains, but feeling like the 20s for a lot of folks. This is not as bad as it's going to get. We actually will be running above normal by the time we get into the afternoon hours today. So 40s in Chicago, 30s for Minneapolis. But here comes that Arctic air. Tomorrow in Denver, 21 degrees. We're running way below normal across really this entire region. We'll only get to the 30s in parts of Texas, especially northern Texas. And then all that chilly air starts to spread farther to the east and south. Memphis into the 20s. We've got teens for St. Louis. By Monday in Rockford, single-digit temperatures. You add in the wind chill to these values, and we're talking really cold conditions. Monday in Chicago, just temperatures into the single digits as well. We've got sub-zero, feels like temperatures. 21 below is what it'll feel like in Chicago on Monday. So get ready for that. We've got a little system that's going to work through parts of the Northeast really through the day today, bringing a little snow here as we get into tomorrow. We'll see some of that. Nothing too impressive, but we will have plenty of rain across parts of the Southeast. And then as we get into Sunday, more of that snow is expected to expand into the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. This will leave us with a couple of inches of snow possible across the I-95 corridor, Joe, as we get into Sunday and work into Monday. So a mixed bag of some wintry weather across much of the country.
All the winter weather.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks, Angie. Appreciate it. Speaking of weather, Californians are worried about a new threat in places wiped out by the deadly wildfires. Mudslides when rain finally does come. NBC News national correspondent Morgan Chesky has more on that as the firefight continues, with tens of thousands still not allowed to return to their homes.
A new danger emerging across a fire-stricken city. This Palisades home split in half after officials say a water leak caused a scorched hillside to give way. No one was hurt, but the still smoldering scene piling on anxiety ahead of any future rain.
If you were in a fire evacuation zone, is there a likely chance you'll be evacuated come rainy season from mudslides?
There is a very likely chance. We're going to have to tell homeowners to remain alert.
Teams still facing 36 square miles of door-to-door inspections before more than 80,000 evacuated residents can safely return to their neighborhoods.
They're shutting off the natural gas. They're cutting the electrical lines, so there's nothing that you can touch and get electrocuted if it was re-energized by accident.
Los Angeles water and power crews testing hydrants to find the source of that ongoing water leak. The department now the target of a civil lawsuit over a reservoir that was offline for maintenance. Some Palisades fire victims alleging a 117 million gallon water storage complex was empty, leaving fire crews little to no water to fight the Palisades fire. Dan Grigsby lost his home of 37 years.
What do you hope to accomplish with this lawsuit?
Accountability, I would say, and make sure it absolutely never happens again.
LA's water system already under investigation after crews reported shortages on both the Palisades and Eaton fires.
Out of every fire hydrant you've seen, what have you found?
Right now, we're finding most of them are down or low pressure.
If you had a hydrant for this building,
if we had a hydrant for this building, we might have been able to save the backup.
Last year, Martin Adams retired from leading Los Angeles Water and Power.
what would you tell those homeowners who saw that water go dry in a time of need?
The one thing that is important to understand up front is that there's no water system in the world that could provide the kind of water demand that was required in this fire.
And as those calls for accountability grow, the firefight definitely not over. Officials saying they now have more than 5,000 firefighters that have converged here in Los Angeles County. Their key missions, putting out those hot spots and driving up those containment numbers. Morgan Chesky, NBC News, Malibu.
Morgan, thank you so much. Now, the damage from the fires is just starting to come into focus, but it's already clear that California's insurer of last resort is facing an expensive crisis. NBC News correspondent Liz Croist explains why.
That's our house.
These were the harrowing moments the Edwards family saw their Altadena home of 30 years go up in flames.
It feels like a bomb just came and exploded on our town.
Everything's gone. Across town in the Pacific Palisades, the Andonian family stunned by the complete devastation of their community, too.
I froze, literally.
When you saw your home?
Sorry. And then the next house, and the next house, and the next house.
Two different neighborhoods, two different life stories, but similar in one way. Both families are on California's FAIR Plan, the state-created insurer of last resort that has more than doubled its number of residential policies in the past 4 years, as private insurers have either drastically raised homeowners' rates or simply dropped them. The Edwards family says they were dropped by their insurer last year and struggled to find a replacement.
And they said, no, sorry, we can't cover you for your home insurance. You're too close to the fire zone.
Current estimates for the Los Angeles fires show insured losses are already about $25 billion. For just the FAIR Plan, it's as much as about $8 billion. The challenge, according to the California Department of Insurance, the plan only has $377 million available to pay claims and about $5.75 billion in reinsurance to help cover the plan's losses. It's a scenario the FAIR Plan's own president warned about last year.
We are one event away from a large assessment. There's no other way to say it, because we don't have the money on hand and we have a lot of exposure out there.
In September, Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara issued this bulletin outlining a new agreement for what might happen should the FAIR Plan ever run out of money. The memo allows the insurance companies who make up the plan to request permission to have FAIR Plan policyholders share the costs, meaning their rates could soar.
He's not doing his job. He's not protecting consumers.
Democratic Congressman and former California Insurance Commissioner John Garamendi critical of the deal Lara made.
The reality is the commissioner has not been transparent, and he's not forced the insurance companies to explain and to justify what they are doing.
We talked to Commissioner Lara last week, 2 days after the fires started.
Can the insurer of last resort sustain this?
So currently, right now, we don't know how many policies are in the insurer of last resort that we call the FAIR plan. We're going to get a better picture once the fire is contained.
The FAIR plan also saying it is too early to determine if an assessment will be sought. And Insurance Commissioner Laura's office adding he issued clear rules to safeguard FAIR plan's financial stability and that policyholders would only have to cover additional costs as a last resort.
We'll be okay.
For families like the Andonians and the Edwards, this all the last thing they thought they'd have to deal with.
What's next?
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. I'm sorry.
So sorry.
But I'm very hopeful that we'll rebuild. I'm so hopeful that we're going to get through this. God's help, we're going to get through this.
Yeah. Liz Kreutz, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Now to Washington, where it has been a busy week for lawmakers holding confirmation hearings for President-elect Trump's cabinet picks. It is a big week for the Dakotas. Yesterday, North Dakota's former governor was in the hot seat. Today, it's South Dakota's current governor, Kristi Noem. She's Mr. Trump's choice for Homeland Security Secretary. Noem's expected to face scrutiny over Mr. Trump's plans for mass deportations when he takes office. Yesterday, during day 3 of confirmation hearings, lawmakers heard from Treasury Secretary pick Scott Bessent. He was bullish about the future of the economy under President-elect Trump.
I believe that President Trump has a generational opportunity to unleash a new economic golden age that will create more jobs, wealth, and prosperity for all Americans.
NBC News Chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles joins us now with the latest. Ryan, good morning. So let's start with Scott Bessent's day on Capitol Hill. He defended the president-elect's plans for tariffs on China and other countries, and he warned heavier sanctions were on the way for Russia. Talk more about what we heard from him.
Yeah, Bessent's confirmation hearing was very interesting, Joe, because it gave us quite a bit of insight into what Donald Trump's fiscal plan is going forward. And what Bessent argued to these members of the United States Senate is that the extension of the Trump tax cuts, which were originally passed during Trump's first term but are set to sunset this year, must be extended as soon as possible. He believes that the economy's health is contingent upon it. Listen to what he told senators yesterday.
This is the single most important economic issue of the day. This is pass-fail. That if we do not fix these tax cuts, if we do not renew and extend, then we will be facing an economic calamity. And as always, with financial instability, that falls on the middle and working class people.
Now, Democrats don't agree with Bessent's assessment there. They believe that the Trump tax cuts were largely just a giveaway to the wealthiest Americans and didn't do much to help middle-class Americans. So this will be a fight in the upcoming Congress. It is the highest priority for Donald Trump outside of his immigration plan, and it's one that he may have to do with only Republican support because Democrats are not going to be inclined to give him this big of a political win this early on in his administration. Joe.
Ryan, let's look ahead and what we can expect lawmakers to ask Mr. Trump's choice to run the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. Immigration and the border obviously were big campaign issues for the president-elect. What could come up here?
Yeah, I mean, Homeland Security is such a vast and important agency, and it is really the tip of the spear for Donald Trump's agenda because immigration is such an important aspect of what he hopes to accomplish in the early days after he takes office. You can expect Noem to get a lot of tough questions, particularly from Democrats, about how this mass deportation plan would be implemented. Who exactly would be deported? Where would they go? How would they be housed in the interim after they are arrested and detained? And then how is the administration going to pay for it? This could be a program that could cost hundreds of billions of dollars. Donald Trump, outside of saying that he was going to pay for it, perhaps with these new tariffs that he's going to install, finding other areas of the government to cut in order to support it, has really not come up with a plan to pay for it. So expect Noem to be really pressed as to how the reality of this program can actually be implemented once Trump takes office.
And Ryan, if Governor Noem is confirmed as Homeland Security Secretary, NBC News is reporting her role as secretary is expected to be more limited in scope than that of her predecessors. That's according to sources who are familiar with the Trump transition. What more can you tell us about this?
Well, you have to look no further than Trump's appointment of Tim Homeland as the border czar to kind of be the front focal point person who is going to take on the responsibilities of implementing this mass deportation program. Republicans have often criticized the Department of Homeland Security of having too much purview into too many different areas. They blame, for instance, the issues having to do with the Secret Service and the failures that the Secret Service has had over a period of time, attributing that to the fact that the Department of Homeland Security has too many responsibilities in too many different areas. The plan could be for the department to be not necessarily broken up, but to give more people more responsibilities that would not directly be attributable to the secretary herself. How that actually manifests itself, we'll have to wait and see until after this administration takes office.
All right, Ryan Nobles, as always, thank you so much. Now, the inauguration, Mr. Trump's second, is just 3 days away, and final preparations are underway. Ahead of the pomp and pageantry, security preps are a main focus in the nation's capital. More than 250,000 people are expected to attend. For more, we're joined by NBC News Chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander. Peter, good to see you, my friend. So the swearing-in and parade will be D.C.'s third major national special security event just since the beginning of this year. Talk about how the city's preparing, especially considering these previous attempts we saw last year on Mr. Trump's life.
Yeah, this is going to be a security issue, also going to be a temperature issue. They're expecting the temperatures well below freezing on Monday as tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands arrive here. As you noted, they have 30-plus miles of non-scalable fencing all around this area. Walking into the White House this morning, I already saw a lot of that's been put in place right now. 25,000 plus law enforcement and military personnel who will be here. You talked about the 250,000 ticketed guests who were expected to take place to be here for the inauguration on Monday. They also think there could be about 10,000 protesters. They have given about a dozen permits for protest-oriented activities to take place over the weekend and again on Monday. Obviously, there have been a lot of lessons learned following January 6th. 4 years ago with the FBI involved, multiple command posts, drones expected to be in the air. They feel very strongly and confident that they're going to be able to keep everybody safe this weekend.
All right, let's talk about the ceremony itself. What can we expect besides lots of down jackets?
Yeah, a lot of down jackets, certainly. Well, we do expect, obviously, a lot of the traditions that you have seen over the past many years. We know that Joe Biden will be in attendance. He promised a peaceful transfer of power on that official dais. As we've been reporting, there will be a lot of tech titans, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk among them. Also, the past presidents, Bill Clinton, George Bush, and Barack Obama will be in attendance. NBC News is now told that none of those past presidents is expected to attend the traditional inaugural luncheon that follows. Michelle Obama will not be attending the ceremony on Monday. Nancy Pelosi, the former House Speaker who frequently clashed with Donald Trump, will not be there either. But certainly it will be a celebratory atmosphere. Already hearing from many people who I met over the course of the first Trump presidency who are flying in from around the country in advance of the activities, with the real big kickoff of sorts taking place Sunday night with a rally at Capital One Arena. That is home to Washington's NBA and NHL teams. That's going to be a big one this weekend.
And Peter, this also marks the final weekend as president for Joe Biden, who you've been covering these past 4 years. What do we know about his plans and just how he's feeling as he prepares to end his 5-decade career in public life?
Well, you can imagine he's not feeling great about the way that he is departing. A source close to the outgoing president telling NBC News that he is dejected and everybody around him is feeling that way as well. We're told by multiple sources close to President Biden that he has sort of had a swing of emotions since the election, at times wistful, angry, melancholy. A lot of the experiences, a lot of the emotions you can imagine a man, 82 years, who spent more than 5 decades in public life and public service, would be feeling as he prepares to depart. We are told by those close to the president that he and his wife, Jill Biden, will be flying out to Central California to Santa Barbara County. They'll spend a little time in Santa Ynez. They spent some time there last year as well, as he sort of takes I think we can all agree, well-deserved break after these last 4 years.
Yes, vacation certainly earned there. Peter Alexander, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much. Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, plot twist. It ends with us, actor and director Justin Baldoni firing back against allegations by his co-star Blake Lively. The new $400 million lawsuit just filed against the actress and her husband, Ryan Reynolds. Up first after the break, the 11th hour efforts to save TikTok as the clock TikToks down to a possible nationwide ban. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. We are 2 days away from when the TikTok ban is set to take effect in the U.S. And several lawmakers are starting to change their tune about the platform. For months, one of the rare points of agreement in Washington, D.C. was banning TikTok. But now a group of leaders who once opposed the app are fighting to save it. A major reversal concerning one of America's most popular apps. The White House saying they will not implement the ban on TikTok, set to go into effect this Sunday, according to 2 administration officials.
I really feel like this is happening because of us.
The fight isn't over. It's just going to be extended.
The battle over the future of the app has gone all the way to the Supreme Court. But now the administration says it won't enforce massive fines on the companies who provide users access to TikTok. It's a stark shift from when the law was passed with massive bipartisan support. The president signing it into law.
It feels like we're losing, a community.
Now, sources say Democratic lawmakers called the White House asking for intervention. And President-elect Trump, who once opposed the app, has signaled he'll intervene.
I'm going to save TikTok.
But national security officials still warned that TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance could steal American user data or manipulate content shown in the app, which TikTok denies. Then FBI Director Christopher Wray had this warning, speaking with Lester last year.
We have to sort of step back and say, who is TikTok? And ultimately, it all boils down to the hand, which is a matter of Chinese law, of the Chinese government and the Chinese Communist Party.
It all comes just days before Mr. Trump's inauguration. According to 3 sources, TikTok CEO Shou Chew is expected to attend, along with the world's 3 richest men, tech titan Elon Musk, Amazon's Jeff Bezos, and Meta's Mark Zuckerberg. President Biden took aim at big tech and what he called the dangerous concentration of power among a select few.
I'm equally concerned about the potential rise of a tech industrial complex. The truth is smothered by lies told for power and for profit.
Well, the Supreme Court announced last night that they will be issuing rulings today. There's a good chance we'll get an official decision on the TikTok ban ahead of Sunday's deadline.
With the future of TikTok still very much up in the air, several Americans are taking matters into their own hands. They're moving to a different Chinese social media platform called Red Note. As you can see here, it looks pretty similar to TikTok. Many of these users are calling themselves TikTok refugees, say the government should not get to control who they share their data with. NBC's Janice Mackey-Frayer has more on how China is responding.
Hey, all my new Chinese friends out there.
They're showing up in online droves.
Hello, Red Note. Oh my gosh, TikTok refugee here.
TikTok users looking for a new home and finding it here.
This might be better than TikTok.
On Xiaohongshu, or Little Red Book, the English name shortened to Red Note. It's become the most downloaded app in the U.S. Apple Store, with over 700,000 new users in the past week alone.
Ni hao. Did I do it? Did I get it right?
Part Chinese Instagram, part search engine, Xiaohongshu is one of China's most popular platforms.
I'm Becca, and I'm introducing myself as a lifestyle vlogger.
Becca Wong is a lifestyle vlogger.
Okay, I'm introducing you to the New Year's gift box.
She uses her account, Who's Becca, to create product reviews.
It's more elegant compared to Chinese version of TikTok.
Critics argue the law pushing TikTok toward extinction goes against free speech. The Supreme Court will have its say on that.
This morning, I opened up my little red book, and what the hell is going on?
For now, the Americans pivoting east has veteran users of the app leaning in.
You better learn yourself a little bit Chinese.
Memes of a terracotta warrior embracing Lady Liberty. Comments ranging from jokes about spies to offers of help with homework. Just don't forget to pay the cat tax that asks American users to introduce their cats.
I think this is a great moment for a little bonding to happen.
This unexpected U.S.-China connection creating what some are daring to call a kind of digital diplomacy.
The vast majority of people in the Chinese mainland have never even talked to a foreigner. It really seems like a surreal moment.
Thank you, my Red Note brothers and sisters.
The migration is also, for some Americans, an act of protest, at least for Diego Abane from Pasadena.
I don't know what's going to happen to TikTok.
Who, like others, joined Xiaohongshu after hearing on TikTok about other options.
They're just all joining on this app instead of going to any meta app like Instagram or X or things like that, just to not support them and saying that it's not It's not really the app that's the problem.
What sort of comments are you getting?
Literally anything from cat pictures to people just saying, nice video.
All the new English language content, though, has censors on overdrive here. According to online job boards, they're hiring reviewers. Sensitive issues, and there are many here, are routinely blocked.
If you don't want to play by the rules, you can never post it out.
Already there's talk on the app that foreign accounts might be limited. The company that owns it has declined to comment.
Americans would literally rather learn Mandarin than use Instagram Reels.
That Chinese state media coverage of TikTok refugees seems positive, signals the government here may not crack down yet. Even the main Communist Party newspaper sounds delighted with the interaction.
People are really seeing this as a historic moment in cultural communications, and they're trying to remember it, that we can be friends.
Not all Chinese users are thrilled with Americans piling into their online community. The honeymoon may not last, but for now, it seems everyone is talking. Janice Mackey-Freyer, NBC News, Beijing.
Coming up, a big warning for women. New research shows women's cancer rates are on the rise.
When we come back, we'll break down the numbers and tell you who's most at risk. This is Morning News Now. We are back with new figures on the worrying rise in cancer among women in the U.S.
The report was released yesterday by the American Cancer Society. It shows cancer rates in women between 50 and 64 years old are higher than men for the first time. The report also revealed that women under 50 have an 82% higher chance of being diagnosed with cancer than men of the same age.
That is a scary number. NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar joins us with more on this. What do we think are the factors behind this?
It's not going to just be one, obviously. Here are a couple of things that experts are throwing out. So one of the biggest cancers that we're seeing arise, especially in young women, are breast cancers. And many of breast cancers are what we call hormone sensitive, right? They're driven by estrogen. We've known for many years now that girls are starting their periods earlier, and they're also delaying childbearing. That increases their exposure to estrogen over time. Other factors include alcohol consumption, obesity, a lot of these environmental things. And one thing I think that's really kind of interesting, too, is that smoking. More women started smoking in the last couple of decades, and they've taken longer to quit. It's kind of like guys got the memo maybe a little bit earlier. So a lot of different environmental things, but again, not just one thing.
You mentioned breast cancer. Yeah. Are there other types of cancer that are driving these numbers right now?
So for women, it's mostly breast and thyroid, but we've also seen a bump in liver cancers, in pancreatic cancers, in melanoma, kind of across the board. There's not one place where we've seen a decrease in a specific type of cancer, but the silver lining is that the mortality has gone down from cancer because we have such amazing new innovative treatments. So we've seen a 34% decline in cancer mortality since 1991, which has translated to saving about 4.5 million lives. So there's some good news.
Right. You just said some of those stats. Yeah. I think we can also pull some of them up. Yeah. There'll be 2 million new cancer cases diagnosed this year, but then the kind of survivable rate of this is better. How have treatments changed?
So, back when we were all growing up, let's say, we all knew about chemotherapy, right? Which was kind of just like a carpet bombing of your body to kill cancer cells, and it killed really, really good things too, and healthy cells. But now there's been so many advances with immunotherapy, genetic sequencing, and basically translated, that means personalized medicine. We talk about cancer vaccines, certain what are called monoclonal antibodies that have really changed the landscape of cancer treatment. A lot of these newer treatments are being used alongside conventional chemotherapy, and in some cases can be even used in place of chemotherapy. And that has translated into really, really good numbers in terms of survival. And detection has changed too, right? We know that certainly for breast cancers above the age of 40, we can detect more of them now with new recommendations to screen earlier.
Let's talk about prevention. These are the kind of numbers that are going to get women, especially younger women, it's going to get their attention. They might be wondering, what can I do to reduce my risk? And also, it also begs the question, are there any sort of screening guidelines that we think need to change?
That need to change. change, right? So let me touch on that first. We were all very pleased when the American Cancer Society recommended lowering the colorectal cancer screening to 45 from 50. We were very happy when the United States Preventive Services Task Force finally got on board and said yes, mammograms should start at 40. I think what the first thing to do to tell people is to know your own risk. Family history is very important here. So if you have an aunt or an uncle with cancer, X, Y, and Z, maybe you're going to get screened for that cancer differently. But there are a lot of what we call modifiable risk factors. That means no smoking, healthy weight, diet, exercise, and limit or moderate your alcohol. And that goes a long way. And I want people to feel empowered by that. There's certain things we can't change, like certain things about our family history and genetics, but there are certain things we can.
Tough ones, though.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Tough to do.
Dr.
They require work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Dr. Azar, thank you so much.
Bet.
Coming up, from the movie set to the courtroom, It Ends With Us director and actor Justin Baldoni now suing actress Blake Lively and her husband Ryan Reynolds.
When we return, the new allegations against the Hollywood couple laid out in a $400 million civil lawsuit. Stay with us. This is Morning News Now.
We're back now with the ongoing legal battle between It Ends With Us co-stars Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. In a new lawsuit, Baldoni is now accusing Lively and her movie star husband Ryan Reynolds of bullying. This morning, Baldoni is also doubling down on allegations that Lively falsely painted his team as the ones orchestrating a smear campaign in her initial lawsuit last month. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas has the latest.
I want to see you again.
Now you see me.
You know what I mean.
Justin Baldoni suing his It Ends With Us co-star Blake Lively in the amount of $400 million for defamation and extortion. The civil suit obtained by NBC News, filed in the Southern District of New York on Thursday, also names Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds, and her longtime publicist, Leslie Sloan. Among the claims in the suit filed on behalf of Baldoni, his PR team, and his production company Wayfair, that Lively was, quote, determined to make Baldoni the real-life villain in her story, and that she, along with her publicist, falsely accused him of sexual harassment in order to take control of the public narrative that Lively was, quote, tone-deaf during the film's press tour. The suit also claims that Lively made outrageous demands when it came to her character's wardrobe, making production purchase a pair of $5,000 shoes. Another allegation made in Baldoni's suit is that Lively rewrote this key scene in the film with Reynolds, featuring the film's characters on a rooftop, and pressured Baldoni, along with one of her mega celebrity friends, to accept her version, saying in a suit that Lively deliberately and systematically robbed plaintiffs of their movie. A text message included in that suit identifies that friend as simply Taylor, but the conversation suggests it refers to superstar Taylor Swift, especially with another message implying that the friend's primary gig could be singing, and one of Swift's songs being used in the movie's trailer. Never knowing what they'll mean. Swift did not immediately respond to NBC News' request for comment. In a statement to NBC News, Baldoni's attorney Brian Friedman saying in part, Miss Lively and her team attempted to bulldoze reputations and livelihoods for heinously selfish reasons through their own dangerous manipulation of the media. We know the truth, and now the public does too. Lively, Reynolds, and Sloan have not responded to NBC News' request for comment. But in a previous statement on the dispute, Lively's attorneys telling NBC News in part, quote, Miss Lively's federal litigation involves serious claims of sexual harassment. A classic tactic to distract from allegations of this type of misconduct is to blame the victim and suggest that the offender is actually the victim. This all coming a little over 2 weeks after Lively sued Baldoni and his production company for alleged sexual harassment and retaliation while filming It Ends With Us, and what she claims was a subsequent smear campaign against her for speaking up. In a recent interview with NBC News, Baldoni's lawyer saying there was no smear campaign against Lively.
Was there a coordinated smear campaign to bring down Blake Lively?
100% no. Justin Baldoni, from the get-go, said, I don't want to do anything negative toward her. I don't want to hurt her.
Baldoni's lawsuit also doubling down on claims that he and his PR team recently made against the New York Times in his $250 million libel lawsuit. The newest suit alleging Lively worked for months with the outlet in what they call a behind-the-scenes conspiracy to prepare a false and damaging narrative about Baldoni. One of the text exchanges they reference published by the outlet are between Baldoni's publicist Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel, who are the ones accused in Lively's suit of orchestrating the smear campaign against Lively. In In it, Abel writes to Nathan, quote, "You really outdid yourself with this piece," referencing an article with the headline, "Could Blake Lively be canceled?" They claim an upside-down emoji was not published by the Times, which would indicate Abel was being sarcastic, as well as not including the text above and below. The Times saying in a statement to NBC News, "We plan to vigorously defend against the lawsuit," and the Times shared the information that we intended to publish, but that those mentioned chose not to have any conversations with the Times. Chloe Malas, NBC News.
All right, NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos joins us now for a deeper dive into all of this because that 4-minute piece was not enough. So, I mean, this is literally he said, she said. Talk about, first of all, how this is actually going to get handled in court with dueling lawsuits, but also just like how much more discovery and just stuff is going to be put out into the public in the middle of all this.
This is becoming a Gordian knot of lawsuits, and we have them in different courts. We've got a couple filed here in federal court in New York. We've got one against the New York Times. That one's filed in state court in California. A lot of the same allegations overlap, but for the state court and the federal court, you can't really consolidate those because those are separate sovereigns. You may see the New York case consolidated. It's in federal court. It's possible. Some of these could have been brought as what we call counterclaims in the lawsuit that Blake Lively filed against Baldoni. He could have sued her back in the same case, but I think this is an option that allowed him to lay out his entire case as a kind of 175-page press release.
I wonder, I was going to ask you if there's any chance that they settle out of court. But it's kind of like, are either of them really after the money of it versus the reputational win that, no, I wasn't the one? Just like, is there a version where you see that happening? Or not really, because it's not even what either of them want.
You seized on something really important. In almost every lawsuit, it's all about the money. But this is a rare instance where you have plaintiffs and defendants, they're both being sued on both sides, who have a lot of money, who are willing to waste it on a lawsuit that neither of them may win in the end. So if they're willing to do that, if they're paying their attorneys to go forward and litigate this case, at some point, even that kind of fervor, even that kind of anger gives way to the business of it. Can we keep paying attorneys and keep paying for litigation and keep going through the damage to our reputation? Because for people in Hollywood, damage to reputation is a real thing. It really can affect your ability to get work in the future. And the way it might not work with be the same for a steel worker or somebody who isn't as high profile.
But this doesn't feel like they're in settling moods right now.
No.
Explain how this could look. I mean, could we have two different cases, two different juries? Could this all get put into one stew? What are the possibilities?
Yeah, the federal court case, in theory, could be consolidated. You simply can't consolidate a California state case with a New York federal case. But you might see some consolidation there. I thought it was very interesting that Baldoni chose to sue in state court in California separately before he sued Lively. But now you have all these dueling lawsuits, and that's going to be really expensive and involve a lot of discovery and a lot of overlapping discovery that you could probably all put on the same flash drive. That's just my thought.
Danny, quickly, does it matter that arguably Blake and Ryan are more famous, more star power?
Yes and no. I mean, they're both pretty famous at this point. Everyone who's heard of Blake Lively, I think, who's reading the news is aware of Justin Baldoni. But it also goes back to the stakes involved. These people have reputations, so they have to consider that as they move forward and consider the way all of this looks publicly in addition to whatever damages they want, if it's really money damages that they're after.
Danny Cevallos, I do find this fascinating, so thank you very much.
I know, but you're biased. You're a Taylor fan.
It's not even that. It's a crazy he said, she said. All right, let's get to what's making financial headlines. It looks like General Motors and the FTC have come to an agreement on selling driver data.
CNBC's Pippa Stevens joins us with that and some other money news. Pippa, good morning.
Good morning, Joe and Savannah. Well, General Motors is banned from selling customers' driving data for the next 5 years in a settlement with the Federal Trade Commission. The New York Times reported GM had been collecting details about owners' driving habits, including speeding, hard braking, and late-night driving, and then selling it to insurance companies and data brokers. Insurers use the data to sometimes deny policies or raise rates. Meantime, the FTC is also referring a complaint about Snapchat's use of an AI chatbot to the Justice Department, alleging it harmed young users. Details of the complaint haven't been made public, but the referral signals the government has safety concerns about bots that generate text and images. Snap's My AI bot runs on OpenAI's technology that can recommend what to watch, plan a trip, or do other tasks. A Snap spokesperson says the company has rigorous safety and privacy practices. And AMC is rolling out new perks for the free version of its Stubs rewards program. The Premier Go tier has discounted tickets on Tuesdays, free refills on large popcorn, and access to priority lanes. Members will also earn twice the amount of AMC points for every dollar they spend. You'll have to see at least 8 movies a year or earn 5,000 points to keep your status for the following year. 8 movies in theaters is quite a lot there.
Yeah, no kidding. Pippa, thank you so much. Coming up, a Southern California teacher taking on a new mission in light of those devastating fires.
I want to save homes. I'm sick of seeing neighborhoods burned to the ground.
Up next, we'll show you his new invention that could protect homes from wildfires. Stay with us. You're watching Morning News Now. Welcome back. A Barbie doll of the 90s R&B singer Aaliyah has sold out on the day it came out. Here it is. Take a look. The doll's all-black look with trademark aviator shades is inspired by Aaliyah's One in a Million music video. It's the latest in Barbie's music series, joining the likes of David Bowie, Gloria Estefan, and Stevie Nicks. It's been more than 23 years since the singer passed in a tragic plane crash, but she clearly remains a music icon. The doll was released Thursday for Barbie Club members on what would have been the singer's birthday, and it sold out. But if you didn't manage to get one, you can dust yourself off and try again because it will go on general sale on January 26th. That is so cool. All right, finally this hour, one Pasadena teacher is tapping into his science background to come up with an innovative way to protect people's homes in a wildfire. NBC News Now anchor Gotti Schwartz went to take a look.
At a home in Pasadena, there's a one-man engine-building fire brigade.
There's your firefighter.
Getting parts in by the hour for a contraption that is so in demand. If you stop by, you better be prepared to help.
Another shipment just rolled up.
David Whitman is a high school science teacher on a mission.
I want to save homes. I'm sick of seeing neighborhoods burned to the ground.
Sourcing parts from all over, he's now assembling a system that taps into backyard pools.
So this is the fire engine, this is the firefighter, and the pool is the hydrant.
Yeah, the pools are, that's perfect. Everyone's like, oh, it's just a pool. Not anymore, it's not. It's a neighborhood defense system. All those pools. How many times have we seen neighborhoods wiped out, literally obliterated, and there's pool after pool after pool after pool?
He says he's trying to build systems so that people don't have to stay behind to protect their homes.
That sprays in 360, and the best thing about it is like no one is in danger.
No one's in jeopardy.
Eugene Goling says David's little engine that could saved his home in the Palisades. His son posting their tests before the fire and the aftermath.
If this wasn't soaking for 5 hours, that the fire would have lit up and burnt everything.
As for patents or whether others might copy his product,
if I can educate people on how to make these things themselves, great.
For now, the teacher in him, happy to show the world what a simple solution can do.
I call it evacuating in style. At least you tried.
Gotti Schwartz, NBC News, Pasadena.
Oh, Gotti, what an incredible story, and what an incredible man, science teacher, and doing that for people. That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now, but don't go anywhere. The news continues right now. Good morning and happy Friday. You made it to the end of the week. I'm Savannah Sellers. Right now on Morning News Now, ceasefire in sight. Israel's cabinet voting today on a deal to pause the war in Gaza after overcoming a last-minute snag in negotiations with Hamas. It could pave the way for Israel's full government to approve the deal on Saturday, with the first Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners released as soon as Sunday. People around the world hoping it marks an end to 15 months of war after the death of more than 46,000 people in Gaza, including more than 100 since the deal was announced, according to Gazan authorities. We'll go to Jerusalem for the latest. Also new this morning, tense testimony. President-elect Trump's billionaire Treasury Secretary pick spars with senators at his confirmation hearing about his economic agenda, including those much-touted tariffs.
All through the campaign, we heard they weren't, that foreign countries were going to pay it. I think that's baloney. It's going to be paid for by workers and small businesses.
Yes, Senator, I would respectfully disagree. Optimal tariff theory does not support what you're saying.
We'll have the highlights, plus another round of hearings for Trump's crucial cabinet picks today, including his choice to run the Department of Homeland Security, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. And with his inauguration set for Monday, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi joins the list of Democrats who say they're skipping out on Trump's big day. Also this morning, progress in the Palisades. As the Santa Ana winds die down, California firefighters bring large areas back under control as investigators try to uncover what started it all. We'll bring you the latest on the difficult recovery getting underway in Los Angeles. And the clock is ticking for TikTok. Later this morning, the Supreme Court could issue a ruling on the app's future. But we'll take a look at the Biden administration's last-minute bid to keep TikTok running, even if a ban goes into effect on Sunday, and that really takes some impact out of the Supreme Court ruling. Thanks again for joining us. We're going to begin this hour in the Middle East, where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says a ceasefire hostage deal has been agreed to with Hamas. Israel's security cabinet has been meeting today to vote on the deal, which is expected to come into effect as soon as Sunday, with the phased release of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners. Despite the imminent breakthrough, Israel has continued attacking Gaza, killing more than 100 Palestinians since the deal was announced on Wednesday, according to Gaza's civil defense. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel has the latest from Jerusalem.
This process is difficult, and it is going to continue to be difficult, but it does seem to be moving ahead. The Israeli Prime Minister's office announcing that obstacles delaying the agreement have been overcome, and that it is now going through an official ratification process.
This morning, the Israeli government said it has accepted the deal after a 24-hour delay. The Security Cabinet meeting to approve it this morning, paving the way for the truce and hostage releases to start as planned as early as this Sunday. But for now, Israel is still continuing the war in Gaza. This boy tries to dig himself out of rubble after intense Israeli strikes. Rescuers pull him out alive. Israel says it's bombing Hamas and its weapons. The fighting is due to stop when the agreement goes into effect and Hamas begins releasing 33 initial hostages in batches. Israel frees Palestinian prisoners, allows more aid into Gaza, and pulls back troops. Israeli media this morning published a list of the first group of hostages expected to be released over 6 weeks. It includes 2 Americans, Keith Siegel and Sagi Dekelchen. The Israeli government has not commented on the list. A third American, Idan Alexander, is expected to be released in the second phase, along with Israeli soldiers and military-aged males. Eli David's 24-year-old brother, Eviatar, is also expected to be in that second wave. He says the wait is torture.
I'm going to cry from happiness and joy, but also it's going to be very sad for so many young men who will not be rescued soon.
Do you think it's a good deal in general, despite the shortcomings?
No, it's a very bad deal. I think it is a very bad deal, but we cannot go against it because it saves lives. It saves lives.
We still don't know very much about the physical and psychological conditions of the hostages expected to be released, or how many of them exactly are still alive. The Israeli military is already putting doctors and psychologists on alert to receive them.
Richard Engel, thank you very much. Well, we are now just 3 days away from the inauguration of President-elect Trump, and preparations continue around the Capitol ahead of the big day. Inside the Capitol, Senate confirmation hearings for Mr. Trump's cabinet picks continue today for a 4th straight day. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, the president-elect's pick to be Homeland Security Secretary, is set to be questioned by lawmakers. NBC News chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander joins us with the later on this. Hey, Peter, good morning.
Savannah, good morning. President-elect Trump arrives here in Washington this weekend with a victory rally scheduled for Sunday, part of a series of inaugural festivities. Then, of course, the main event, Monday, Inauguration Day. Temperatures, by the way, expected to be well below freezing here. Still, Capitol Police say they expect nearly 250,000 ticketed guests to attend, along with thousands of protesters.
This morning, Washington is preparing for an imminent power shift.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
By this time Monday, Donald Trump will be poised to take the oath of office for the second time as America's 47th president. Ahead of the pomp and pageantry, security preparations are underway here in the nation's capital. Among those not attending Monday's inauguration, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, according to her office. Pelosi regularly clashed with Trump during his first term. Former First Lady Michelle Obama is also not attending. While former Presidents Obama, Bush, and Clinton will be at the ceremony, they will not attend Trump's traditional inaugural lunch. The Trump transition team unveiling these official portraits of the incoming president and vice president. The image of Trump remarkably similar to his 2023 mugshot taken at Georgia's Fulton County Jail that became a rallying cry among the MAGA faithful. Heading into the inauguration, a parade of Trump cabinet picks are making the rounds on Capitol Hill. The president-elect's pick to lead the Treasury Department, Scott Bessent, warning if Congress fails to extend the 2017 Trump tax cuts, taxes on the middle class will increase.
If we do not renew and extend, then we will be facing an economic calamity.
Has been the greatest honor of my life.
Meanwhile, as President Biden heads into his final weekend in the White House, two people close to the president tell NBC News he's experienced a swing of emotions since the election. Gloomy, resigned, angry, even wistful. Another person close to the president says he's totally dejected and the people around him are as well. The president sitting down with MSNBC's Lawrence O'Donnell overnight, reflecting on his legacy, saying he could have done a better job explaining his handling of the economy.
Ironically, I almost spent too much time on the policy, not enough time on the politics.
And new this morning, President Biden is commuting the sentences of nearly 2,500 people convicted of nonviolent drug offenses. He has now issued more pardons and commutations, Savannah, than any president in American history.
All right, Peter, thank you very much. And NBC News Now will have extensive live coverage of Inauguration Day. It gets underway at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific time on Monday. Well, in Los Angeles this morning, those Santa Ana winds have finally died down, allowing firefighters to take better control of the wildfires that have burned almost 40,000 acres. The fires have killed at least 27 people and destroyed more than 12,000 structures, including people's homes. But the causes of the fires remain unknown. NBC's Morgan Chesky has been covering this from the start. He joins us from hard-hit Altadena with the latest. Morgan, good morning.
Yes, Savannah, good morning. And hard to believe there's about 80,000 people that are still under evacuation warnings that don't know the status of their homes or even personal possessions. And that is why officials are pleading for patience as both search and rescue teams and cleanup crews are still making their way through one incredibly massive burn zone.
This morning, a small stream of evacuated residents returning to their neighborhoods for the first time.
As we drove into the house and I saw it, and I thought of all the families who would not be able to do that, I started to cry.
With firefighters steadily increasing control over the deadly Palisades and Eaton fires, the region is slowly but steadily turning to the difficult next steps, including hazardous debris removal and even preparing for what may happen when the rain finally returns.
If you were in a fire evacuation zone, is there a likely chance you'll be evacuated come rainy season from mudslides?
There is a very likely chance.
This Palisades home, spared by the fire, now split in half after officials say a water leak caused a scorched hillside to give way. A grim example of what experts say could happen on hillside neighborhoods across the massive burn area.
The houses that are in the burn scar after a fire event are the most prone, most susceptible to there being a mudslide or debris flow around them.
While city officials and fire department brass have been criticized for their handling of the disaster, no one is questioning the bravery and effort of firefighters on the front lines, many serving others while their own homes were in jeopardy. Jerry Puga, his son, and his daughter's boyfriend are all LAFD firefighters, but the winds fueling the Eaton fire were too much to stop.
I was just overwhelmed.
With their own home gone, the family returned the next day and pitched in to help their neighbors. Along with the trauma and practical problems of losing their family home, Puga says it's hard on firefighters like him to ask for help.
I'm just so used to being the one coming and asking, how can I help you? And now being the one needing that service is just completely different.
In a career spent helping others, some of the city's bravest now coping with the firestorm they fought to stop.
And as so many people try to figure out their next steps, reinforcements on the fire front continue to pour in. At last check, officials say there are now more than 5,000 firefighters that have amassed in the Los Angeles area from all over the country, all over the world, Savannah. And their work far from over here as they continue to put out hot spots. Forecasters say that more Santa Ana winds could be arriving in this general area as soon as Monday or Tuesday, but it is still too early to tell just how strong those winds may be. Savannah.
Morgan Chesky, thank you very much. Well, later this morning, the Supreme Court could weigh in on the law that would ban TikTok in the U.S. by this Sunday if the app's Chinese parent company, it's called ByteDance, doesn't sell it by that deadline. But ahead of that decision and with just a few days left in office, the Biden administration, they are having a major reversal here, preparing to take its own steps to keep TikTok running, even if the ban is upheld.
With just 2 days before the ban on TikTok is set to take effect, the wildly popular platform is finding a temporary lifeline from President Biden in a major reversal as he prepares to leave office.
The fight isn't over. It's just going to be extended.
Two administration officials tell NBC News the outgoing White House will not enforce the hundreds of billions of dollars of potential fines against companies that host TikTok, essentially pausing the ban from taking effect Sunday.
Things are starting to look really good for TikTok.
Congress passed the law last spring with overwhelming bipartisan support. It required TikTok's Chinese parent company, ByteDance, to sell the app to an American company, something it's given no indications it has plans to do. This is all over national security concerns. The Chinese government could steal the user data or manipulate the content shown to Americans. TikTok denies this.
Nothing has changed. The national security concerns remain exactly the same.
Then why do you think the Biden administration is taking the step to say we're not going to implement this?
The Biden administration has 1 day left. They certainly don't want to take the political heat for shutting down a popular app. This is going to go over to the Trump team.
President-elect Trump, who tried and failed to ban TikTok in his first term, now supports saving it, with his incoming national security advisor confirming they have plans to intervene.
We're going to find a way to preserve it, but protect people's data, and that's the deal that'll be in front of us.
This latest effort to keep TikTok from going dark to its 170 million American users comes as the company's CEO, Shou Chew, is expected to attend the inauguration ceremony on Monday, sitting on the platform alongside other tech executives, including Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg.
Well, the Supreme Court did give late notice yesterday. They will have rulings today. That announcement indicates there's a good chance we get the TikTok ruling, especially with that Sunday deadline quickly approaching. But with the Biden administration now saying they won't implement the law, a Supreme Court decision could have less impact. Now let's get you your morning news now. Weather, and you got to get ready to bundle up this weekend. Holy moly. Angie Lassman has the latest on the cold temperatures on the way for a lot of the country. Hey, Angie, good morning.
A lot of the country, indeed. Good morning, Savannah. You're going to want to layer up and then layer up some more, and maybe you layer up some more. I don't think any is going to be enough here when we're talking about the temperatures we'll see for an extended period. Here's where we start, though. Actually quite mild across the middle of the country. We've got 30s in Minneapolis, 46 degrees in Kansas City, 70s across parts of Texas and Oklahoma. But look what comes our way as we get into tomorrow. These are afternoon highs. So Denver, you top out at 21 degrees. We're going to be running nearly 30 degrees below normal for this time of year. So a high of just 1 degree in Fargo. We've got upper 30s as far south as Texas. This moves to the farther to the east and to the south here as the days go on. So as we get through the weekend and into early next week, check out Sunday and Monday in Rockford. We've got 3 and 4 degrees for our high temperatures there. We've got Memphis into the 20s, even as far east as Baltimore. We head to 20 degrees for your high on Tuesday. The South is not excluded from this. You're included as well. We've got Dallas into the 30s on Monday and Tuesday. Even the Gulf Coast going to see temperatures kind of flirting with those 30s and 40s for the extended period. Chicago, though, take a look at folks in Chicago Monday and Tuesday. 6 degrees, 8 degrees. Those are high temperatures. Now, you add in the wind chill values, and we're talking minus 20, minus 21 for the beginning of our work week. Those aren't the worst wind chills we'll see, though, especially into the overnight hours. We could see 30 below, somewhere in the range of 20 below to 30 below for a lot of folks, especially across those northern latitudes of the United States, the northern plains, parts of the Great Lakes, the Midwest. Even New York City, minus 4 for what it'll feel like Tuesday and Wednesday as folks are out and about. We've also got the potential for a couple of kind of winter storms working our way. The first one is going to be this Clipper system. We've got some rain across parts of the mid-Mississippi Valley today. Not going to be super impactful, but it could interrupt some of those afternoon plans. That goes for tomorrow across the southeast, too. And then a little bit of these kind of scattered snow showers will be draped across the northeast. But then here comes a more substantial part of this winter storm. We could see plenty of snow working across parts of the northeast, the mid-Atlantic. It'll start to be into the mid-Atlantic for the morning hours on Sunday, and then kind of spread north into the northeast and New England. It'll be fast moving, so the potential is there for us to see some light to moderate snowfall amounts here as we get through the day on Sunday and into Monday. It'll mostly be gone. We'll start to see that wrap up. But notice some of these amounts, especially along the I-95 corridor, we could have the heaviest snow kind of set up there from Washington, D.C. to Boston. 3 to 6 inches of snow. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a couple of spots with some higher amounts. And then, of course, downwind of the lakes, we'll see some more substantial amounts across that region. Now, big picture look for your weekend, your Saturday. It's the frigid highs for the middle of the country. Still dry out west. No rain in sight for folks there. We will see that rain across the southeast. And then, of course, the snow that I just mentioned will develop for the mid-Atlantic and the northeast. Plenty of sun across the country, though. Look at all those bright skies that we'll get by Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We've got a little snow across parts of the Rockies, and that chilly air sticks with us. That takes us right into, of course, the inauguration weather. This is going to be the coldest inauguration day since Ronald Reagan. So we've got to go back basically 40 years to see temperatures this cold on inauguration day. Ooh. 20 degrees at 9 a.m., Savannah. And it's not just that it's going to be cold. It's also going to be quite windy. Those gusts up to 25 miles per hour. So expect wind chill values 5 to 10 degrees. It'll be sunny, though. I mean, if we're looking on the bright side of things, at least it'll be. The bright side of things is we're going to be right here. Yes, exactly. In a nice warm studio.
Yeah, but many of our colleagues will be covering it. Pack right. Exactly. Angie, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, SpaceX's latest test flight of its Starship ran into trouble yesterday. About 9 minutes into the launch, the company lost connection with the upper part of the rocket. They posted on X that the ship broke apart during its ascent. Afterwards, social media users posted videos of what appeared to be fireballs in the sky. Look at this. Wow. Above the Caribbean islands, these bursts of light are likely debris from the Starship re-entering the atmosphere. That is an amazing picture. There was some good news, though, for Elon Musk's company. Ground control staff celebrated. That's what you're seeing on your screen right now when the rocket's super heavy booster, it right there, managed to return to its launch pad as planned, which is quite a feat. Well, there's much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, get ready for game day. The divisional round of the NFL playoffs kicks off this weekend. We will break down the brackets. Now let's get to a health alert from the CDC. So the agency is calling on labs across the country to speed up how quickly they're testing flu cases to find out whether more humans may have bird flu. They now want testing to be done within 24 hours.
This guidance comes as the U.S. battles high rates of seasonal flu. So far, there are 67 reported cases of bird flu in humans and 1 death associated with the virus.
Joining us now for more is NBC News medical contributor Dr. Vin Gupta. Dr. Gupta, good morning. Always great to have you with us. So this guidance by the CDC to do this type of testing, it's actually been in place since last fall, but now they're pushing for this to be done more quickly. How's this going to impact the care people get, and why does it need to be done more quickly?
Well, good morning, Savannah. Good morning, Joe. This is going to impact care because, first of all, early detection of flu, this respiratory virus we always talk about, is vital because we have treatments, but those treatments work better the sooner you get them into the body. And so that's why it's important to understand what type of flu you have. Influenza A and influenza B, 2 types of flu that can impact humans. Influenza A is the issue here. And you can detect that with a rapid test in an urgent care clinic or in a hospital. But to really understand whether you have bird flu, which, again, there's a minority of cases, you have to have centralized hospital PCR testing. And the sooner we get that, the sooner we can understand, well, gosh, does that patient have close contacts at home? Do they need to get tested? So if there's a potential outbreak, we can snuff it out.
PCR testing, a term we all got to know during the COVID pandemic. So this alert comes from the CDC as flu cases are surging across the country. So this new testing guidance, it only applies to patients with influenza A viruses. Talk about why that is. Is it because of similarities to the bird flu?
Yeah, that's exactly it, Joe. Bird flu is a type of influenza A virus. So most adults across the country, across the world, if they're going to get sick with the flu, it's going to be influenza A. Influenza B, we don't talk about it as much, generally impacts children when it's present. Vast majority of these 110,000 hospitalizations, though, that we've seen, all influenza A. But to your point, that PCR testing, that special test that we talked about all the time during COVID, That's what's required to understand, well, God, what's the subtype here? Is it typical human flu? Or is it bird flu in this case? And again, important to distinguish because Tamiflu we know works against both bird flu and human flu, but it works not as well against bird flu. So that's why it's really important to understand.
Doctor, we've been talking more and more about bird flu. People are probably starting to see more headlines in their paper, that kind of thing. I've heard from people who I think the vibe is kind of like, we've seen this movie and we did not like the ending. I mean, how worried should the general population be at this point? Is this something that we are kind of on the beginning of what could be a critical mass?
You know, I do think state governments, Savannah, need to take this seriously. The federal government needs to take this seriously in terms of preparedness. So what does that mean for the general public? General public, the risk is low, but it's a mixed message because here we're talking about it. We're saying the risk is low to the general public. It is something that government officials and policymakers need to take seriously in terms of testing poultry, cattle, areas where we know it's spreading, to understand the risk to humans. Right now, that risk is low. It could change. What they're doing in California, Governor Newsom issuing a state of emergency to ensure there's more testing of these at-risk animal populations. That's what we need to see, frankly, more of to understand the risk. And also, that's exactly underpinning the CDC guidance. This is not new. You said this in the tee-up. There's just more urgency now to really understand, are we actually undercounting how much bird flu there is? That's the important question.
Dr. Vin Gupta, thank you very much.
Coming up, more drama for Blake Lively. We're going to tell you about the latest twist in her legal saga with co-star Justin Baldoni and why Taylor Swift's name is now being dragged into the Hollywood feud. We're back now with a new twist in the real-life Hollywood drama between It Ends With Us co-stars Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively.
Yeah, and the latest legal filing of the saga, Baldoni is now suing the actress, her husband Ryan Reynolds, and others for what he says is a smear campaign to ruin his name and career. NBC News Entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas is here with us with the latest on this. Really, I mean, it's turning into a he said, she said. Chloe, good morning.
I mean, I am glued to this story, and this is the latest. So in a new lawsuit seeking $400 million, $400 million. Baldoni claims that Lively was determined to make him, quote, the real-life villain in her story after a power struggle that he says robbed him of the film.
I want to see you again.
Now you see me.
Overnight, Blake Lively speaking out. Her legal team saying in a statement that Justin Baldoni's dramatic new lawsuit is, quote, another chapter in the abuser playbook. Baldoni suing his It Ends With Us co-star, her husband Ryan Reynolds, and her PR team for defamation and extortion, seeking $400 million.
Promise me.
In the suit, Baldoni, who directs and stars in the film, claims Lively used her immense power as a global celebrity to seize control of the film. Baldoni saying Lively enlisted the help of Reynolds and alluding to the couple's famous friend, Taylor Swift, during a rewrite of one of the film's most famous scenes.
You just broke into my building?
You have a really nice view.
I do.
Baldoni says the actress summoned him to her New York penthouse, where Reynolds and a famous and famously close friend of Reynolds and Lively praised Lively's version of the scene, which he says made him feel pressured to comply. Baldoni's team now confirming that friend was Taylor Swift. The pop star's first name mentioned in the lawsuit, which includes a text from Baldoni to Lively about that rewrite. The director saying, I really loved what you did, adding, and I would have felt that way without Ryan and Taylor. Lively, Reynolds, and Swift have not commented on those allegations, but Lively's legal team saying the strategy of attacking the woman is desperate. It does not refute the evidence in Miss Lively's complaint, and it will fail. Baldoni's lawsuit also saying that, quote, even well into production, Lively had not read the immensely popular Colleen Hoover novel that the movie is based on, and that she assumed control over various aspects of the movie, even inflating the budget with wardrobe choices, including a $5,000 pair of shoes for her character, and created her own cut of the film. Lively's team saying Baldoni is falsely claiming that she seized creative control and saying that the studio Sony asked her to oversee a separate cut, quote, which they then selected for distribution and was a resounding success. Last August, Baldoni praised Lively's work on the film on Today.
She had her hands in every part of this production, and everything she touched, she made better.
So clearly things are heating up and neither side is backing down. So this could potentially head to a courtroom at some point. But in the meantime, Baldoni's PR team says that in the coming days, they are going to be putting up a website that's going to be live with all of the texts and letters and emails between Baldoni and Lively so that the court of public opinion can decide whose side they're on. But I just have to say, I mean, this is not good for either of them at this point. I mean, the information dump that now people have access to and are going to with this website, it's just too much.
Yeah, the court of public opinion.
Yeah, Chloe, thank you.
Welcome back. Let's get to some money news now. Apple is having quite the bite taken out of it on Wall Street.
NBC's Pippa Stevens joins us with that and other financial headlines. Hey, Pippa, good morning.
Hey, Savannah. Well, shares of Apple recovering a little ground today after they fell 4% yesterday, the worst day since August. The stock is down more than 10% from its most recent high in December, and it's the worst performer among the Magnificent Seven mega-cap tech stocks so far this year. Reports this week say Apple fell to third place for smartphone sales in China in 2024, behind two local rivals. A notable analyst saying the Apple Intelligence AI features aren't boosting iPhone demand. And sticking with Apple, it is pausing notification summaries for news and entertainment apps as part of the latest update for iOS 18. Reports say the Apple Intelligence feature has been criticized after it made errors in summarizing content from outlets such as the BBC. 9 to 5 Mac says Apple will restore the notifications with a future update and will let users disable them for specific apps from the lock screen or notification center. And the head of BlackRock's ETF business believes Bitcoin will rip higher under President-elect Trump. She tells CNBC deregulation of cryptocurrency will absolutely propel Bitcoin to another historic year. BlackRock runs the iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF, which has more than doubled since its debut a year ago. However, she cautions Bitcoin is a risk asset, so investors should expect volatility. Joe and Savannah, back to you.
Pippa, thank you so much.
Well, we are a few weeks away from Super Bowl 59, but there's still plenty of football to enjoy before then. The divisional round of the NFL playoffs will kick off this weekend, bringing us one step closer to seeing who will play in the big game next month. NBC News correspondent Kaylee Hartung shows us everything we can expect from the exciting slate of matchups.
Hey there, temperatures are dropping and the intensity is heating up. But hey, that's what you'd expect for playoff football. The top-seeded Chiefs and Lions are back. There is also an epic quarterback showdown in Buffalo, and the Rams are looking to pull off an upset in Philadelphia to lift up the city of Los Angeles.
8 teams, 4 games, 2 days, all with one super goal in sight. The NFL divisional playoffs kick off in Kansas City with a clash between the Chiefs and Houston Texans. Leading the way in Kansas City's quest for a three-peat, quarterback Patrick Mahomes, who's already having a golden start to the postseason after welcoming his third child on Sunday.
It was cool that we got the bye, just because you can kind of really focus in on just being at the hospital, being in the moment.
And tight end Travis Kelce taking some inspiration from pop superstar girlfriend Taylor Swift.
I'm fired up, man. I'm feeling 22 all over again, baby. Let's go.
With the highest scoring offense in the NFL, the Detroit Lions are eyeing their first ever Super Bowl appearance.
We still got that grittiness, and, it's playoffs, so you got to go out there and get a win, or you're going to be on the couch.
But the Washington Commanders are looking to make history of their own with rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels, who was drafted in the Motor City just last year.
It's somewhere where my dreams became reality, and now to go back and play a playoff game there against a very good team, it's just nothing but a blessing.
In Buffalo, a bone-chilling showdown between two hot-handed quarterbacks.
A matchup so good, it's a shame it can't be on the Super Bowl stage, right?
Yeah, we've been talking about this MVP debate for the last couple months, and the two names that keep coming up are Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. And, if you know anything about football or know nothing about football and watch these two guys play, you're just blown away by it. It's must-see TV.
Allen calling on Bills Mafia to help get the win.
We're at home. We'll have to use the fan advantage to the fans to our advantage, and again, we're just find a way to score one more point.
While the Baltimore Ravens and Jackson prepare for what could be the coldest game of his career, with temperatures forecast to drop to single digits.
I can't go into a game and be like, man, it's too cold. I can't make things happen. I got to lock in the cold.
And snow might be falling as the Philadelphia Eagles attempt to fly into the next round. Quarterback Jalen Hurts and the Eagles hosting the Los Angeles Rams, inspired to bring joy to their devastated city, still reeling from those deadly wildfires.
We're definitely motivated by, the situation that is going on around here, and then the people that are, leaning on us to give them a little bit of joy come the weekend, and hopefully we can do that again.
Detroit fans hoping their team makes their first Super Bowl appearance in franchise history may break the bank this weekend. According to StubHub, the average price of tickets sold for the Lions-Commanders game is a whopping $952. Yeah. Back to you.
Wow. All right, Kaylee, thank you so much. And you can catch all the playoff excitement this weekend on NBC and Peacock when the Los Angeles Rams take on the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday. That's at 2 p.m. Eastern.
All right, let's travel across the world where the Australian Open is already delivering some jaw-dropping moments in the first tennis major of 2025.
Maybe the week's biggest headline came from American newcomer Lerner Tien. The 19-year-old from California upset one of the world's top-ranked players, Daniil Medvedev, in a back-and-forth thriller that lasted nearly 5 hours on Thursday. Tien is now the youngest American man to reach the third round of the tournament since 1990.
Tennis announcer and MC Andrew Krasny joins us now for more on all this excitement. Andrew, good to have you with us. I mean, Tien only won his first Grand Slam match of his career a couple days before all this.
That's amazing.
Then he puts in this performance against Medvedev, who, of course, was one of last year's finalists and is always in the top picture. How big of a shock is this in the tennis world, and just what impressed you most about this young American?
Well, it's a huge shock, and I tell you, we needed good news in Southern California. He is a Southern California native. He went to USC for a year before he decided to turn pro. He didn't come out of nowhere, but if you're an average tennis fan, you've never heard of him. He has been a top-ranked junior. He's been to the finals of 2 junior Grand Slams in 2023. But really, what he pulled off the other night is nothing short of spectacular, and it's got a little bit of what Rafael Nadal used to have, and he's got drive. He fought off. He had a match point in the third set against someone who's known for coming back. You have to remember, Daniil Medvedev's been #1 in the world before. He's been a finalist at the Australian Open 3 times. He's won a Grand Slam at the U.S. Open in 2021, and this kid showed no fear and pulled off the upset of the century.
So cool. Just 19 years old. Incredible. We also know matches have been going on all morning. We've already seen one of the GOATs, Coco Gauff, make it into the next round of the tournament. She made it to the semifinals last year. Do we think she can go all the way this year?
I think she's got a good chance, and you got to be sure to check out on Twitter. She gave one of the best post-match interviews of her career. She was embarrassed, but she was asked about her new outfit. Did she pick it out? And she said, look, people are asking me how I go to the bathroom in it, and she got embarrassed. It was a really classic moment. She's a lovely young lady. She's got everything it takes to become a major, major star, and she is already. And Coco, who pulled off a stunner at the WTA finals in Riyadh just a month or two ago, she's got what it takes. But I would still keep an eye on Aryna Sabalenka. I'd keep an eye on Jessica Pegula, Emma Navarro. It's anybody's tournament.
And you just mentioned now 3 American women right now.
Yeah.
You got Americans on the men's side, women's side, who are just performing so well over the last couple of years. Who are you keeping an eye on? Who do you think can really make that deep run?
Well, listen, Danielle Collins, who we thought was going to retire last year, she's still playing. I would keep an eye on her. Emma Navarro, who's from Charleston, South Carolina. Of course, we're talking Jessica Pegula. She could do great. Taylor Fritz, I'm looking at. Tommy Paul, we're looking at. The names just continue to go on and on and on. And I got to tell you that it's still anyone's tournament, but I wouldn't count out Novak Djokovic, Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz. It's just one of those years where anybody could win and everybody is a contender.
But you know we're going to make you say who you think is going to win.
I hate to do this, you guys, but
sorry.
I got my eyes. No, it's okay. I got Aryna Sabalenka, Savannah. I think that Aryna Sabalenka, who I feel bad. She's such an amazing kid. She comes from a country right now that is war torn, and we can't even show her flag. But I got to tell you, she's an incredible kid. She's got incredible drive. She's won the last 2 Australian Opens. I'm keeping an eye on her. Coco Gauff. I would love for the Emma Navarro story to continue. And on the men's side, Jannik Sinner. And I wouldn't count out Novak Djokovic. He is the GOAT, no matter what you say. And he's going for an 11th Australian Open.
That would be incredible. All right. Andrew Krasny, fun breaking it down with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Savannah. I'll get up early for you guys anytime you want.
We appreciate
we
that.
love it.
All right, coming up, time for our weekly Can't Miss list.
If you're staying in this weekend, then stay tuned. We've got a brand new lineup of the best films and shows, from the return of what you're seeing on your screen right now, the hit series Severance, to a horror film that will keep you on the edge of your seat. That's when we come back.
Welcome back. Country music star Orville Peck's new project will take him in a very different direction. The South African singer, who's famous for always wearing a mask, is saying, "Welkom, bienvenue, welcome to Broadway," and playing the MC in Cabaret at the August Wilson Theater. It's Peck's first role on The Great White Way. He replaces Adam Lambert at the end of March for 16 weeks and will star alongside Tony Award nominee Eva Noblezada, who's previously appeared in Broadway productions like Hadestown and most recently The Great Gatsby. I actually got to sit down with Orville Peck for an interview during Pride Month last June, and I have not stopped listening to his music since. That is an awesome choice. We'll give it a totally different flair, that deep baritone voice, a little bit of a country twang. We wish him all the best in this big role.
Finally, this hour, it's Friday, which means it's time for your weekly can't miss list, our weekly roundup of all the films and shows that you just got to see this weekend.
This weekend, of course, we are joined this week. It's Friday. We're joined by Bravo personality, host of Shaken and Disturbed, and good friend of the show, Darren Karp. Good to have you with us.
Good to see you both. Darren, we love you. We're so happy you're here. And to us from LA, I know you've been safe, so it's great to see you here.
Yes.
Okay, let's start with Wolfman.
Yes.
It's got Julia Garner, which is really cool,
Yeah,
and like no special effects or something.
Biopic. I don't know if you guys knew
yes.
this. This is his secret name.
I shave 4 times a day.
Secret
That's
name
why.
of-
Thank
no, this
you
is
for
coming
that,
from
Darren.
Blumhouse, who did, Paranormal Activity. He's kind of known for making these fairly low budget, very scary films. But this stars Christopher Abbott and Julia Garner, of course, and they kind of go away to their family's rural Oregon sort of country home.
As one does.
As one does, of course. And when a vicious animal, wolf perhaps, we're not sure, an unhuman creature kind of attacks them, and so they isolate in the house. But it turns out that Christopher Abbott's character was actually attacked and bitten and starts to transform into this wolf-like man. And Julia Garner has to decide what's safer, kind of being in the house with him or outside in this mysterious world, as so many women feel about their men. This is a take on heterosexuality, but no, if you know Blumhouse like I do, Wolfman is super scary, super fun. I've been seeing trailers for this since Halloween. So.
You're assuming the Wolfman is straight. I mean, do we know?
That's true. It is a Joe Fryer
Make
biopic,
assumptions.
okay? I don't know. I'm just,
right.
these are my 2 cents here.
All right, so we have
Darren.
seen Shakespeare in every form you can imagine. Now we get Grand Theft Hamlet.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, this is the thing we never knew we needed. But this is created by 2 kind of former actors who, in COVID had really nothing to do. The UK was in lockdown. There wasn't really anything happening. And they had this idea that what if they were able to produce Shakespeare's Hamlet in Grand Theft Auto, in this wild world, violent world of Grand Theft Auto. So they actually hold auditions with characters like in the game that they go to do it, and then they perform the entire Hamlet within the Grand Theft Auto world.
Pretty brilliant.
It's actually brilliant. It's funny. It's touching at times. It has sort of this... It's very self-aware in the fact that it is like sort of this new genre of digital art. But it's really cool that we can do this in 2025. And it sort of opens up this new world for actors and character actors in all its forms. And you don't have to worry about wardrobe, which is the best.
So true. Okay, this next one, I'm so excited about this pairing, Keke Palmer and SZA in One of Them Days.
Yeah, One of Them Days. I've been seeing billboards for this everywhere. I mean, the good thing is, who doesn't love SZA? Who doesn't love Keke Palmer? But their chemistry on set and in this movie is just super fun and authentic. It's a comedy. It's about 2 best friends and roommates who are kind of just kicking it in the streets when one of their boyfriends actually like takes the rent money and uses all of it. So they kind of, one of them days, they have one of them days where this day of chaos ensues where they're trying to beat the clock and pay their rent off so they don't get evicted. But it's funny and it's cute.
A lot of people are excited about Severance. It's finally back.
I'm
We have to
excited.
rewatch the end of the first season with the big cliffhanger, which
Correct.
leads us to season 2.
Yes, it's been 3 years, so you really do have to watch.
Yeah.
God, has it?
It has been
I guess I
3
watched in COVID times.
Yeah, it's been 3 years since this is directed by Ben Stiller. They just had a great stunt in Grand Central Station where they had the glass office and all
I
the
saw
characters
that.
were there.
That was-
But yeah, this actually begs the question of if you could separate your work life and your personal life, would you? If you had absolutely no idea what you did during the day and could go home, would you want that option? And some of us probably would. And those are the difference between innies and outies. Coming off of season 1, obviously, they are blending a little bit of the innie-outie from what I remember. And so this next season is going to dive deeper into those 2 different worlds that are happening. But it's kind of a great moral dilemma. If
I feel like that was the best way I've heard it described.
Yeah. You got your innies and your outies. It's
Succinctly,
not belly
you know,
buttons,
it's
people.
like so confusing. All right, also Unstoppable. This is on Prime.
Yes, this is on Prime. This actually is a true story about Anthony Robles, who fought his way under the Arizona State wrestling team. And when I say fought, I actually mean that, not only because it's wrestling, because he was actually born with one leg. So he actually became... He just had to overcome so much. And J-Lo is in this. This is not a rom-com of what we're normally usually seeing of her. She actually plays his mother, and then Don Cheadle actually plays the coach in this. But it's a really powerful movie. No matter what you think of it, you're going to be rooting for Anthony by the end of it. It's a true story.
15, 20 seconds here, SNL's 50th anniversary. They're just cranking out the documentaries here.
Cranking out the docs. This is on Peacock. Four episodes, excuse me, in this documentary. It takes you behind the scenes from the grueling work week to when it starts on Monday night to all the way up until live. It shows what I think is the best, which is the auditions process. You get to see Will Ferrell's audition process, how hard it is to get on the show, what happens during all of this organized chaos, as they like to say. But 50 years, the show is adaptable. It obviously has to go with the times. And there was that one season in 1985, but they were going to cancel the show, but obviously didn't.
They didn't.
Yes.
Darren, mwah, thank you.
Love you guys.
That's going to do it for this hour. Morning News Now.
Stay with us. The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.